What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Shop Mini RC. I'm Ken, and today we are looking at the new FMS FCX18. Now this thing looks awesome. Let's get it open. Alright guys, I am super excited to dive into this guy. Labeled it right there on the chassis. The FCX18. This thing is awesome. It's built on the proven FCX24 platform, but it's got upgrades. You may recognize this truck, this LC80, the Toyota Land Cruiser body, has been around before. It was one of the earlier FMS products, but it was on straight axles. And it didn't have quite the tunability that this guy has, and definitely not the aftermarket support. This has all the aftermarket support of the FCX24. And as you know, it's been killing it lately with the aftermarket support. Tons of axle stuff, portals, steering links, drive shafts, all that stuff. Obviously brushless systems from like FureTech and the other guys out there doing brushless. All that stuff for the FCX24 will work on this guy. Obviously you have different link lengths, but as far as the axles and steering linkage and all that kind of stuff is concerned, all that is the same. Portals are the same, all that good stuff. So that is super, super awesome. The original LC80 was a body that was stuck on the chassis, and this is the same thing here. It's screwed on, but it's easy to remove, and we'll do that here in a little bit, but you don't really need to remove it because everything is accessible through the hood. You've got your battery and your ESC and all that good stuff right here. And we got a good sized battery. I think this is a new battery for FMS. This is a 900 milliamp battery, guys. You're gonna be running for a while with this thing. I do want to hit on some bullet points on this before we start tearing into it, because we're gonna open stuff up a little bit, show you what it's about, take the body off, check the portals, maybe we'll open the transmission. I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out. And hope you're going to enjoy and be along for the ride, and put any comments down below if you have any questions or want to point anything out. Let's start with the wheelbase on this guy. It is different than the FCX24. It's a longer wheelbase. It's 160 millimeters. Let me grab an FCX24 just to compare. So we've got the K5 Blazer here. We turned ours into a truck. Here's the wheelbase difference. Mind you, I've got a little bit bigger tires on here. These are your aftermarket tires, not your stock tires. But if you line it up from here, you can see that the LC80 is just a little bit longer. Okay. As far as the width is concerned, they're the exact same. They're literally the same axles. So all that's going to be the same. It's just a little bit longer wheelbase, which is awesome. Also, you'll notice right off the bat, this has metal links. Pretty sweet. I love that. It'd be nice at some point if they would give us a truck with 4-link suspension. That would be cool. 3-link, people usually like to upgrade that to 4-link. Basically just giving you independent links mounting to the side of the servo tray versus a single Y type link. And they're doing that in the front and the back. They should at least give it to us in the back. Give us 4-link in the back. That would be awesome. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the bullet points real quick. I just want to give you that quick comparison, and we'll compare more as we go. So it is a full ready-to-run model. All you got to do is throw batteries in your transmitter, and you are good to go. It's a 3-in-1 receiver, so it's the receiver, the ESC, and the light control. As you saw, we've got some pretty cool lights here. Oh, we unplugged it. No! So you get your different lights by pressing the channel 4 here. Just click, and you go through the different light settings. There's a hazards, there's an off with signals, okay? And then there's an off with no signals. So that's awesome because a lot of people want to be able to run it without the signals constantly flashing, especially as you're crawling and stuff. Doing video, having the signals flash is very annoying. So being able to turn those off is sweet. And then a regular, a high, and again, hazards. It would be nice if the signals activated only at a much further lock, right? Like if you were to, they didn't activate until we hit like right there, right towards the end. That would be nice. So I would love if FMS or anybody that does lights would just make it so that the lights don't activate until you're almost to full lock. And I understand it's going to change depending on people's dual rates and stuff, but don't put it right at the beginning, right? Like I barely turn this thing and the lights start going off. Not ideal. It'd be much better if it took almost a full turn to get you there. That'd be more realistic too. Anyway, so the lights are pretty sweet though. I love that it's got the light kit in there. This guy, we haven't opened it up yet, but it does have a larger than the FCX24. It's got a 180 brushed motor versus the 130. We mentioned these metal suspension links. Even our steering links are metal, so that's awesome. We got the servo saver on the servo. What else do we have? We've got a usable spare tire. This is actually the exact same as what's on the truck, so it's not a fake. You can pop it right off. If you bought 4 of the trucks, you'd have 4 extra tires to run something else. All in all, the lights, there are 12 LEDs on this guy, which is pretty sweet. She has the 2-speed transmission. Let's talk about that real quick. So, in my opinion, one of the best ready-to-runs out there for a brushed ready-to-run is going to be the FCX platform, whether it's the 18 or the 24. And this is why. The fact that we've got nice wheel speed so we can trail. Some of the other competitors out there, like the T word, we'll just say it, the T word, it trails right out the box. You can trail fine. It's got good wheel speed. I think this is actually going to be faster though. But then when you want to crawl, you have to change the transmission gears, and then it's so slow you can't trail it anymore. So you don't get to trail and crawl. Whereas this guy, flip that switch, changes into an actual low gear, and then look at that. Look at the slow modulation here. Look how slow we can go. With torque. It's got plenty of torque. Okay, so that is awesome. We've got the slow speed with torque, and then the high speed with plenty of wheel speed for trailing. And then you even have a neutral so you can rev at your buddies. That's always fun. Another thing that this has over that T-word truck, if we're comparing 1/18, it's full bearings, guys. This thing has a 24-piece bearing kit. So I'm pretty sure that's bearings everywhere. I don't think there's bushings anywhere on this guy. So that is freaking amazing because the T-truck, it's got bushings everywhere. The steering servo on this guy is a metal gear steering servo, which is awesome. The shocks are now oil-filled from the factory versus the previous FCX24s. They came oil fillable. So you had to put in the O-rings and you could fill them. But now they come straight up oil filled from the factory. Freaking sweet. Love that. All of the body details on this thing are just, they blow away the competition. That is what FMS is known for, is just hyper detailed bodies. And this body looks fantastic. And it's not even just the body details, like the mirrors that are actual glass mirrors. I'm pretty sure they're glass. Like, they don't look plastic. They look like they're cut glass. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm pretty sure they are. And then the snorkel, you know, the roof rack, the ladder on the back, license plates, even the bumpers. The bumper comes with a hitch, a trailer hitch. It already comes with it, so you don't have to buy the trailer separate if you've got trailers. You've got a trailer hitch here. Now, mind you, you'll have to make sure it works with the trailer you have, because this guy's like a little C-hook hitch. Let me show you. It's this deal here. You've got the top cap, and you just pop it on there. But it comes with a hitch, which is freaking awesome. Okay. But all the details, 4-wheel drive, VX Limited, the 2-tone on this guy, Toyota logo in there. It is officially licensed. And yeah, just the detail and the paint. I don't know if it conveys in the video, guys, but this paint is gorgeous. It looks amazing. That other company, Mr. T-Truck, their bodies are literally just molded plastic, and they're the color of the plastic. It's not painted, which I guess is good. If you scratch it up, you're not going to see the scratches as much, but come on, guys. We all like scratches. We like to get them beat up and get them scratched and roll them and have some real world body damage. But even besides that, it just looks much better when you have a true paint job. We've even got our window wipers here. Oh, so good, guys. The detail is just so good on this guy. Speaking of the colors, it does come in 3 colors. It comes in the blue, 2-tone, it comes in a gray, and it comes in a yellow. They all look fantastic. Did you even notice it's got the defrost lines in the window? Defrost lines in the window, guys. Amazing. Amazing. One thing I do wish, while it looks great like this, I wish that the windows weren't so dark. I wish we could see inside so that if we put an interior in there, you'd be able to see the interior. Yeah, it is pretty dark. Like you're able to see through here right now because I'm very bright and lit in here. But like when I'm looking at it not on camera, it's hard to see through there. So if you put an interior in there, it is going to be hard to see. I do wish it was not quite so dark. I get why they made it dark because there isn't an interior. But man, it'd be nice to be able to maybe get some clear plastics. It'd be nice if they sold new windows that were totally clear and we could tint them ourselves if we wanted, or like I said, put an interior in there. It'd be pretty sweet, but it looks great like this. So I totally get why they did that. And then on the box, they mentioned that there's a bunch of upgrades coming, but there's already a ton already out there. But one thing they do mention that I don't have, which I'd like to get when they come out, trailers. There's 3 different style trailers FMS is supposed to be coming out with. So that will be pretty sweet. All right, I hit all those points. Let's go ahead and start kind of diving into this guy. I guess the first thing we're going to do is take the body off. Now the body's just held on with 4 screws. Now I think these screws are some of the only screws on the truck that are Phillips head, the body screws. You know what would have been cool? Let me get this body off and then we'll talk about it. But some body clips, because 1/10 scales use body clips that are underneath. There's some, not all, but I've seen some. Actually, my Bronco, the FCX18 early Bronco, has its body clips underneath. Oh, I see why. Okay, because the bumper is part of that. So they don't. Body clips means your bumper will just come off. So that's probably why they didn't do. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. That just takes your bumper off, guys. So there's the 2 screws there for your bumper, and then there's 2 screws here for the body. So let's get the actual body off versus just the bumper. My bad. Now those are actually hex heads. So let's get our hex head out. It's a 1.5, and there we go. Now there is a screw right here for the ladder. You can see that. And you don't have to back it out. It does kind of just squeeze right by there, so you don't have to pull that screw out if you want to pull the body off, which is definitely nice. I thought at first I might have to, but you do not. Well, you might have to get the chassis off. Oh, nope, you're good. Just kind of slide it off to the side, and it'll come right out. All right, let's get our front. Yeah, so they definitely could have made body clips for this instead of what they did here. Oh, what? Is that the bumper there? Is this the bumper? So interesting. So now these screws are Phillips. So it looks like they did the backs in hex and the fronts in Phillips. That's odd. Okay. So yeah, these screws here are for the body. All right, so she comes right off. So what they could have done, theoretically, is basically on the body itself have some posts that stick up, right? And those posts would just slide right into here. And then you could put a body clip through the post and through the post. And then same on the front. Now, it might be kind of hard to reach, but at least you could just pull it out and then pop the body off if you needed to. Now, keep in mind, you have a lot of wires in here for the light kit. So it looks like we have some traditional servo wires here for the rear. We're going to have to remember where they go so that they don't get too mixed up and we don't know which light goes where. Let's see. All right. I'm going to go ahead and show you real close how they go. Looks like the front headlights go to here. And then actually, interesting. Let me see here. I'm trying to see for you guys. All right. So our roof lights are this guy here. So this is for your light bar. Go ahead and plug that. Actually, it's a harness for the light bar and the front lights. Interesting how this is wired. And then this top corner here is for the other just the front lights. Just these guys here. So yeah, interesting way of having that wired up for sure. Okay. Just if you need to reference it in the future, and we'll also put bookmarks down below so you know. So that's the body. Pretty simple, guys. And here is the rig itself. There's that big 180 motor. Power dash. It's nice and tight in there. All the wiring is very, very clean. They tuck it through. I dig that. Even though you don't really take the body off this guy much, it's nice to have some tight wiring, right? There's our switch. It's kind of built into this battery tray. Looks like the battery tray and ESC tray is all one piece here. Actually, all the way back to the servo. This is all one piece. Would have been nice if they modularized this a little bit, had the battery tray separate, and then the ESC tray separate. And then I wish the transmission, well, you know what? It looks like the servo may mount directly to the transmission now. Looks like they have a servo mount plate for the transmission. That is awesome. So another difference between the FCX18 and the FCX24. Let's pop the top off this guy. All of the FCX24s so far are a single chassis design all the way to the skid. That means the skid plate where you mount your transmission and the chassis is all one piece. That's not an ideal design. Definitely cool for the body mounts if you like these body mounts. I know some people don't like this style body mount, but I actually really do like it. I think it's a fantastic body mounting system. You just got to make sure all your wires are nice and tucked where they're supposed to be. That's usually the problem people have, especially with the Power Wagon, is the Power Wagon's very tight over the chassis. And if your wires are just like this and hanging out a little bit, you get caught and that creates issues. But like on the K5, it's totally easy. Pops right on, pops right off. But it's a single chassis, right? So you can't change your skid plate. You can't install an FCX transmission in another chassis without having a special skid plate made because you can't use your stock unless you cut it out and do some very custom work, which we may do in the future for a certain build. But yeah, this, I mean, now we don't have to. We can just literally use the chassis here or the skid plate here and throw the entire system into a new chassis essentially, which is what it looks like we've got going on here. This shift servo and transmission housing is all one. How freaking cool is that? I'm going to pull this apart because I want to see. All right, guys. So I wanted to pull the chassis rail off so we could look at some stuff. Put our bumper back on. But the chassis is basically, to pull that off, I pull off each shock. There's two screws mounting each bumper, the front and the rear. And then there's this extra hole here. I'm not sure what it's for. Probably just to help stabilize the bumper. It looks like there's a little notch in here. We'll see when we get it off. There's our shock mount. Our upper link, those have little bushings in there, so be careful because those little bushings will fall out. There you go, see that? Okay. And then you have 3 screws to the skid plate, and then again your 2 shocks over here for your shock mount. And then this guy will just pop right off. Look at that. So that's our chassis rail. It's a C-channel style. And here's all of our stuff, okay? So our shock towers in the rear look like it's a single piece. I think the front's exactly the same. So that shock tower is independent of the battery box. Okay, so this battery tray and all this stuff looks like it's independent. Maybe not, I don't know. Oh, there's screws underneath. Looks like there's 2 screws holding the shock tower or the battery tray and ESC tray to the shock tower. They're right there. right there. So that's pretty cool that that's a separate piece. The shock tower is separate. I dig that. You can remove all the electronics trays if you want and do some custom stuff while maintaining your stock shock tower, or you can get custom shock towers. They'll have to work around this tray, but at least you can put some different shock towers on, and they look to be the exact same. So that's cool. The bumper mount is different on the front and rear, which is to be expected, but I just wanted to point that out. The bumpers are mounted to that, obviously. They're not mounted to the body. So that's pretty cool. It means that your hitch is mounted to the chassis and the bumper versus being mounted to the body, right? On the FCX, there's no way to really mount anything from a hitch standpoint to that chassis very easily, right? Same with the front. Like if you want to put a plow or something on, you can't really chassis mount it very easily. You'd have to mount it to the body, which is not necessarily ideal. Not horrible, but not necessarily ideal for things that are weight bearing like a trailer. So yeah, all right, let's see. Let's get this little bushing out before we lose it. I don't want to lose this guy. Okay. All the screws are the same size. Are these metal? They sure are. Those are metal little bushings for that link. But yeah, all the screws for the whole chassis rail are all the same size with the exception of the ones that go to the upper links. They're a little bit longer. So these two screws for the upper links, just a little longer. Pretty slick. I dig that. Let's go ahead and pop our tranny out. Wonder if these screws are the same size. I love it when a truck uses, oh, they sure look like it. Oh, they might be a little shorter. No, they're the same size. So all your transmission housing and skid plate screws are the same size. So that's awesome. It always makes it easier for newer people when a lot of the screws are very similar sized, with the exception of ones that are obviously a different size. Just makes it so much easier for them to work on. Because I remember even when I was new, how frustrating it would get not knowing what size screws went where sometimes. And you'd put one in that's just not quite long enough. It would go in and be fine, but then you end up with an extra screw left over that's longer, and when you put it in, it's like sticking out or doesn't screw in all the way, and you're like, what the hell? And then you have to find the shorter screw that you put in to a spot that was supposed to be a longer screw. Stuff like that. It makes it so much easier when you don't have to do that. Oh, look at that. Boom. This is so sick. I absolutely love this. Okay, your servo plugs into here. This is your shift spot, just for reference if you take this thing apart. These are the rear lights, and this is your front servo. So those are your two servo spots. Front servo, shift servo. Okay, and I believe there's actually this one here is your channel 4, and I'm going to test it right now, actually. Let's see, not the motor, the servo. Put our shift servo in here. And I've done this on other rigs where I've moved the shift servo to the channel 4 button, which is our lights, so that I could use this for rear steer, left and right and center. Not the best rear steer solution, but it is a rear steer solution, which is pretty sweet that you have that option to be able to do that. Let's see if we can get our shift servo working on this channel 4 here. Okay, so there's our steering. Obviously our channel 3 is unplugged, and then channel 4 works by holding it down. Oh yes! Look at that. So you can move your shift servo to channel 4. Okay, and there's ways to adjust your trim and stuff for that and your endpoints in the remote. Oh, that's so awesome. And then you can use channel 3 for your rear steer if you want to do rear steer. Pretty sick, guys. That makes me happy. Okay, so it's awesome. This now comes as this little unit that you can just put into a new chassis rail system. The FCX24 shift servo is actually mounted into the chassis. So if you had a new chassis rail system, you would have to figure out a way, and you wanted to keep that 2-speed, you'd have to figure out a way to mount your shift servo at the same spot and the same distance as the stock, which is a real pain. But now we can literally just pop our whole skid out and the whole thing is one piece. Oh man, that's so awesome for upgrades, guys. I can't wait to see what chassis rail systems people come up with for this skid and this assembly here. Freaking sweet. I love it. And it looks like it's actually just a plate. So you can remove the plate that's holding the shift servo from the transmission if you wanted to run just a single speed and lock the transmission into a single high or low and not have the shift servo to save on weight or space or things of that nature. You can still use just the stock transmission housing, and you don't have to have a special housing. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull this battery and ESC tray off. I believe it's just held by the 2 screws attached to the shock tower. And these 2 screws, again, awesome, awesome, awesome. They're the same size as all the other screws. So literally all this taken apart so far, and the only difference in screws are the 2 for the links. Well, it'd be 4, right? If you did this side, the 4 for the upper links. And there you go. There's your tray. So your entire tray is separate. And it looks like getting our servo out of here might prove to be a little difficult because we've got a zip tie. We're going to cut our zip tie. Whenever you're cutting zip ties that are near wires, do not cut the wires. Looks like our ESC is probably double-sided sticky taped in there or something. We're going to have a heck of a time trying to get this servo out. So what I'm probably going to do is snip this little piece right here. Just that little snip, and that'll allow us to pull our servo wire out. All right, we can snip this a little bit more, clean it up so we can get it in and out of there easier. There we go. Now you can just get your wire in and out of there, no problem. Okay. But yeah, there's your tray. It's our power wire here going to our switch. So if you want to relocate your switch, you'll have to work that switch out of there. Oh, it looks like it just pushes out the bottom. Bam. So you can relocate your switch if you'd like. And you've got a little bit of extra, it's not servo cable, but switch cable. So that's pretty sweet. I dig that. It looks like it's just kind of held in there by when it's screwed down to the shock tower. It's just kind of held in there. So nothing else. It's not glued in or anything. So that's pretty cool. You can actually tuck all that wire right down in this little spot. Pretty cool little modular unit here. I dig that. And there's our naked chassis for the most part. Pretty slick, guys. I am digging it. I'm loving how the direction they're going here. The only thing that I wish was different was that we had body mounts, right? That you could stick it on there and you could just quick release, pull the body off. 4 little body clips on the front, 4 little body clips on the rear, and she comes right off. That makes it a lot easier for when you do like Lexan bodies, or you can put body mount posts straight in. I guess you could do that anyway for a Lexan body. Just put some body mount posts in here, and then you use a screw for the body mount posts, and then you can put your Lexan body on. Guess we could do that, but yeah. I'm digging this, man. I'm loving that this is like this. It makes it so easy to work on. This 180 50-turn motor is going to give you a little bit more speed and power over the 130 that comes in the FCX24. The 130 it's good, but you know, this guy should be able to drop right in there if you had clearance. It's the same mounting and everything. So everything that fits the FCX24 will definitely fit in here because we have even more space. And then most of the stuff that's in the FCX18 should be able to drop back into the 24 if you wanted to use this motor. You might hit your links. I don't know. It looks like there's plenty of clearance, but definitely cool that it's using the exact same transmission and an even more improved mount for the shift servo. Like I said, I'm in love with that for sure. These shocks, before I took it all apart, but even now felt really good. They're nice and smooth. You have adjustable shock collars here, so you can, if you have a trailer and you need to preload it, you can run these collars down and you're good to go. Now, is this plastic or aluminum? These shocks are aluminum, guys. Aluminum bodies. Just the cap is plastic, but the body itself is aluminum. Wow. Okay, that's cool. Let's go ahead and get one of these shocks off this truck all the way. Actually, I should just be able to pop this guy off. There we go. All right, let's get into this guy. Those are springs. There's the bottom half of the shock. That guy will come right out. We're going to lose our oil doing this, but I want to show you what's in here because I don't know what's in here and we should see. Doesn't look like there's a bladder. Yeah, no bladder in there. That's okay. Oh, there is a bladder. Look at that. I lied. It was stuck in the cap. I thought that was oil. It looked like it was just a little divot of oil in there. I didn't realize that that was a bladder. Sweet. That's why they're so smooth, guys. So that's pretty sick. All right. And then I can only assume that that's a hex. So it is. It fits. And then we can unscrew this guy. We're going to make a mess. That's okay. Unscrew our shock eye. Drop our cap off. I kind of want to see. Let me get paper towel. Hold on. Paper towel. Okay. Push this guy out. Let's look at what our shock shaft looks like. Look at that. So it's like a sort of a triangle, which gives us bypass for our oil. The oil bypasses there, and then the these portions are what provide resistance through the oil. So it's not rubber, it's all metal. And then let's see what we have for seals here. It should be probably an O-ring, a rubber O-ring. Oh, it looks like a double O-ring. Okay. Oh, no, there are just two O-rings. I thought it was a single, like, rubber piece that was a double O-ring. So there's two O-rings. And is there a third piece? A lot of times they'll sandwich like a rubber O-ring and then like a disc and then another rubber O-ring. Looks like they're just doing double O-rings. Hopefully they don't leak. Unless there's a piece in here. No, that's it. Just the double O-rings. Should be fine, but I have seen some that have three pieces in there. I do like the shock shaft though. It seems like it's nice and flush in there. So it's real. It doesn't have a lot of play when it's inside the shock housing. Just a little bit. But it's nice. It's not so tight that it'll bind and not so loose that it can create binding as well. Because sometimes when things are too loose, they'll bind. And it's just about the right tolerances, it seems. So that's good. Let's go ahead and throw this all back together. We'll have to fill her back up with some shock oil. We're going to end up using 200 weight here. Because that's what we have. Hopefully, that's what they're using. It feels very close to that. And just the consistency. But we're using some Team Losi shock oil. This stuff might be a little thicker. So we might end up with a little bit less dampening. We'll have to do the other side so they match. But we'll see. The link end is plastic, so just the housing itself and the collar are metal. They're aluminum. Both the top and the bottom of the shock is plastic, though. Don't overscrew that in because this looks like it will come through the ball joint. So be careful of that. And we'll put our bladder back on. Make sure our shock is completely compressed. Get our bladder in there. And tighten this guy back down. Yeah. Seems good, seems good. Yeah, I dig it. Hoping we didn't over tighten this. All right, nice. Nice. I think we might have over tightened it because see, we're not dropping. So if you over tighten that shock rod into the eyelet, it could create some issues where you're just not quite as loose as you should be. See if I can just manually, there we go. It's a little better. Still not quite as floppy, probably deformed the plastic a little bit when we over tightened it, but that's okay. Not the end of the world. It's definitely looser than it was. We'll do a little bit more. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right, we're putting this guy all back together before we move on and show you more stuff. I just wanted to show you putting these little bushings back in. This is the easiest way. Just throw them on your driver. You go. Take that bushing. You can just slide it down in there. Have it lined up with your driver, and there you go. Bam. Drops right on. Now your link's on there, and throw your screw through the bushing into your link. Super simple. You can tighten down on this guy pretty good because that bushing is keeping it moving free. Okay. Let's get our last shock on. We are good to open up the portals next, I think. Or do we do the transmission? All right, let's look at our transmission. So the only other Phillips that I have found so far in the truck is the drive shafts, which is very typical. So nothing crazy there. Trying to figure out the best way to remove this guy. I wonder if I can just gently kind of twist it out. I guess we could always pull our servo horn off, which is another Phillips because servo horns seem like they're always Phillips. Just don't want to mess with my trim on this, so I have to remember exactly where it's sitting. Just put it right back on. That way we don't forget where our trim was set and our shift servo here. All right, there we go. And now let's open this guy up. Yeah, wasn't sure if there were actual metal gears or not in the transmission. It looks like the transmission is plastic gears. So it must be all of the portal and diff gears that are metal. When I look on here, the metal gears, metal universal, and differential are optional modification parts. It's only the portal axles that are metal gear, which is fine. I'll be honest. In all of the FCXs that I've ever ran, even the monster trucks where I'm really beating them hard, or one of the other trucks I have is kind of bashery like. The only issues I've ever had have been in the portal gears. Even the plastic diffs have been great. Haven't really had an issue there. They do make a metal diff that's an open diff for the Max Smasher that you can drop right into this guy if you really want the metal diffs in there. But then it's open. It'd be nice if they have, I haven't looked lately, but hopefully they have a metal spool or metal, just the diff. It would be nice if somebody made a metal overdrive gears for these things. We'll open this FCX18's diff up and axle and whatnot, and I'll show you what's going on in there. But it would be really nice to have some overdrive or underdrive gears in the differential or in the portals, or both. Both would be awesome. So yeah, all plastic gears in here, which is, again, it's fine. I've never stripped any of the transmissions on these guys. So that's saying a lot. We do have a bearing there. I can assume that all the other bearings in here, or all the other spots in here are bearing. There's no reason for them not to be. They did say all bearings, so I'm going to trust that. Pretty sure the pinion is a brass pinion, if I remember right. On all the other trucks, it's probably the same. All right, let's go ahead and just get this guy back together. And we'll move on to the axles. I did also want to point out that V2 on this servo, so I wonder if this is also the Metal Gear servo in there. I don't think these ones say V2 on them, so I'm not sure the difference. I just wanted to make it very clear for you guys the way this thing goes back together. So the servo side has the kind of bend here, then the long shaft down to here. Okay, so that's how she goes back together. Going to go ahead and drop our transmission back in. One thing I always tell people, make sure you phase your drive shaft. It's basically making sure that your drive shaft is aligned. Here, we'll do it like this. Essentially, the ears or tabs on the shaft should match the ears or tabs on the other side of the shaft. So that would be in phase. Whereas if I turn this 90 degrees, that is out of phase, right? Because our shaft is not lined up on the ears. So spin it, and there you go. That helps with vibration at high speeds, things like that. So just wanted to throw that out there. We're going to drop this guy back in. In phase. I am really loving the way this is set up. It's so easy to work on. This design, I hope they follow through with this design on future trucks, whether it's an FCX24 or an 18. Having this all separated out was just so much better. So much better. They'll have to come up with probably some better mounting solutions for the bodies because you don't have that kind of mounting solution on this chassis rail system. But I've seen some people do some flat rails with little boxes that hook the stock bodies into. Not the worst, but they do have them out there, so maybe they can come up with something similar for a C-channel or flat rail. They uses if they want to keep that stock body mount system, or maybe just come up with a new body mounting system. Definitely need something that's not screwed in though, because I don't like having to unscrew everything, even though you have all the access under the hood. You know, anybody who likes to work on RC cars does not want to have to unscrew their body, especially if something breaks or they need to just switch something or they want to test something on the ESC or whatever. Having to pull screws out to do that kind of sucks, but again, it's where we're at now, and this is definitely a major improvement over the FCX24 in a lot of ways. All right, let's get this drive shaft back on, and then we'll do a diff and portal. Before we get to that portal stuff, I'm going to show you what the wheels and tires look like. It's just a basic plastic beadlock, but it is a true beadlock. It uses Phillips there, so we found another spot where there's Phillips, but that's okay. We'll usually switch out the wheels anyway, but they do make, I believe, some brass rings for these. If you want to add some weight up to the front, just add a little bit of brass to the front. You could add it to all four, but I'd just put it in the front if I was going to. And then some foams and the tires. The tires actually feel really good. They're pretty sticky. Again, you don't just want sticky, you want soft, right? Because sticky just means dirt sticks to it, and then they're slip, you know. But having it soft so that the lugs fold and it helps conform to the rock, that's ideal. And these feel really good in that regard. So for a ready to run anyway. All right, let's get this back together and then we're going to do the portal. And there's the portals. bearings, metal gears. Looking good. It's all greased up. Super nice. Looking all right. It would be really nice for someone to come out with some overdrive gears, some good ones that don't have a ton of slop, or underdrive, either one. Just something to help give us a faster wheel speed in the front versus the rear. That would be super nice. Somebody get on it. Doesn't have to be portals. It can be diffs. Speaking of diffs, let's get in there. Pulled out all the screws, the 2 portal screws here that hold the portal housings, and then the 4 diff cover screws. Interesting thing about the FMS axles is they are not an actual diff cover. It's just the entire axle housing, and it's in 2 pieces, a front and a rear piece. So to open the diff, you have to pull the portals off. Okay, and that's just that single screw right there will hold the portal on, and you should be able to just pull it right off with the whole axle shaft. Pretty slick. So I dig that that is working that way. I do kind of wish that the diff cover was a separate piece. I get why they did it, but it'd be nice to be able to put just a brass diff cover on. I guess you could just do a brass back housing. That would work, but either way, you do have to pull the portals off to get the axle apart so that you can get into the gears. So there's our diff gears. They are on bearings, but they are plastic. They're well greased, so that's good. Plenty of grease in there. You can always swap these for max smasher gears, and that'll give you an open diff, but then you're not going to crawl very well. It's more for trailing or high speed monster truck type stuff, but they are metal. I think I mentioned earlier that I wasn't sure if there were metal ones out there. There are definitely some companies out there making metal gears here. I just wish that somebody would make an overdrive or underdrive, like I said, with the portals. Just having those options would be super nice. What else? Oh, let's do the front little swap, the screw swap. Yeah, all these screws, they're still the same size as all the other screws, which is freaking sweet because it makes it so easy when you're building one that they all use the same stuff. They all use the same screws. Very cool. Another thing you could do with these portals, by the way, which I've done on other builds, you have to cut these tabs off right here, but you can clock them, right? Just a little bit. If you wanted to get yourself a little bit longer wheelbase, instead of being straight, you could clock it about a 45-degree angle, and that will give you a little bit longer wheelbase. You can even go all the way like this, but then you lose that benefit of the portals. Your diff is going to be basically a straight axle, but you're using the portals to lengthen it. But if you have no other parts and you want to lengthen or shorten your wheelbase, that's one way to do it. Just know that it's also going to change your front height. Well, you know, the difference between the front and the rear will drop down lower a little bit because you rotated it. But we actually run a monster truck that's got kind of a unique setup, and we've angled the portals a little bit to get a lower center of gravity and kind of level things out because of the way we built that. Anyway, just something cool about these when you have removable portal housings. And again, I always say this when I mention FMS stuff. It'd be nice if they made a straight axle conversion where you could use this exact axle housing right here, and all you do is put a new end cap on that allows for a straight axle, or put new C-hubs on, which is really easy. Just put new C-hubs on with a new steering knuckle, and you could have a straight axle using these exact axle housings. I really wish somebody would do that, because then we have all of the axle parts of the FMS aftermarket support, but a straight axle. Also, it can narrow in your wheelbase, so you could fit smaller bodies, right? If they wanted to do an actual 24 scale, like when they did the Blazer, I think I mentioned this in my Blazer video, the K5, they should have just done straight axles, and they would have brought in the wheels and tires basically to where the portal housing is. You could have brought them all the way in and narrowed it up and gotten a little bit better proportion on their body, because that body is a little out of proportion, just a little bit. It's a little wider than it is long, and they could have just narrowed it up just a little bit and made it actually closer to 24 scale, and given us a cool option, right? Like people could run straight axles or portal axles. But my guess is they think that everybody wants the portal axles, that the portals are an upgrade. Portals, I wouldn't call them an upgrade. They're just different, right? Like running portals raises your center of gravity, but it gives you a lot more ground clearance, which is really good. It introduces more slop into your driveline because there's extra gears, and there's no way of getting around it. That slop is always going to be there, right? Like even if I hold the drive shaft, you have slop in there, and it's just the nature of having gears in the driveline. So that's a downside. But again, you get that extra clearance, which is super nice. It's a ton of extra clearance. But not everybody wants portals. It depends on your purpose for the rig. Straight axles are a lot more scale because there's not a lot of full-size rigs that run portals. But it is, again, nice to have that option to go straight axle or portal. Portals are awesome, though. They're fun for just all-purpose kind of trailing, and with a proper build rig for hardcore rock crawling, they can work out really well. But again, you still have that... it's hard to get rid of that slop, right? You can lower your COG in a lot of ways, your center of gravity, but getting rid of the slop is very difficult to do. Even in a totally custom rig, you still are going to have slop in portals. Even with the highest quality portals, there's still going to be more slop in those portals than there would be if they were straight axles, which can be a problem when you're like hanging on a wall or trying to pull yourself up a rock and you let off the throttle a little, or you need a reverse and it slaps, which causes you to break loose, stuff like that. Again, that's only in extreme crawling, but for a general crawler or trail rig, portals are great. Also, the gear reduction is really nice. You're able to get much better gear reduction because you're running extra gears and more torque and stuff. So there are a lot of benefits to portals. Again, they're not better or worse than straight axles. They're just different. Let me get these last screws in. I'm going to show you this little screw flip in the front. Get more steering angle. Now, if you've seen any of my other FCX-based builds or axle videos or anything, or RTRs, you'll have seen this because I show it in all the videos. But I just want to show it again, just in case this is the first time you've seen any of my videos. There's a screw right here, and you can see when I turn, the steering knuckle or steering link, depending on how low that link is, hits on that. And so you kind of max your turn radius right there. If you take that screw and you flip it to behind, like we did over here, it's the same exact thing. It's just in the back. Now you get more turn radius. And actually, it looks like we're being limited right now by, what's limiting our turn radius? Or a steering link on the diff cover, maybe? It's about the max there. Either way, you still get that little bit of extra because it's not hitting on the screw, okay? So you can see here versus here. Look at the bumper, right? So we go all the way to the top right there versus here. That's basically where you stop. Okay, so you do get a little bit of extra turn radius by removing that screw and putting it in the back. Pretty cool. And it's free, it's cheap, it's easy, and there's no downside to it, especially with the servo saver on there and whatnot. The only thing that I could even remotely think of for why they do that is to help save on the CVD wear, because if you have a sharper turn angle, there's more potential to damage the CVD. But I know tons of people and myself who have done this, and they try to get more steering angle out of it. They'll even do more than that by making some other adjustments, and they've never broken a CVD. These axles are like bulletproof. The axle shafts and the CVDs on these trucks on the FCX platform is just amazing. That's why so many people like these axles. It's not just the fact that they're portals. So if FMS is listening, anybody at FMS, we love the portals, but what we really love are your CVDs and axles. So get us those CVDs and axles and this axle housing with metal gears ideally, but get us this in a straight axle and people will love it. Absolutely love it. So yeah, because they just love how beefy it is. They love that the axle shafts don't break and things like that. So anyway, I think that's about it. I don't know what else to show you guys. If there was something I missed, mention in the comments below, and I'll try to cover that in the next review video on the next truck, which during the filming of this, we saw some spoilers of a truck that's coming, and it looks like it's going to be another FCX24, probably coming very, very soon. So keep an eye out for the review video on that, because we're going to be getting one of those as soon as we can and show you guys that as well. But from what I've seen, they're using this exact same setup with the transmission, the separate skid, and the mounting bracket for the servo, the shift servo and everything, all being just like this. The things we love about this now in an FCX24 with a new body or chassis type look. We are super stoked for it. I can't really say too much because I don't want to get in trouble with FMS, but it's cool, guys. It's going to be a cool rig. Just from a customizing standpoint, you're going to be able to do a lot of cool stuff to this new FCX24 that will be coming out as well. Going to be more of a performance-based rig, less on the look side from a scale standpoint. So if you're looking for something that looks good and performs good, let me just say great. If you're looking for something that looks great and performs great, then this is where it's at. Not just good, guys, because like I said, I think, in my opinion, the FCX platform is probably one of the best platforms out there, ready to run. Like, you can't really get a better general all-around truck, whether you want a crawler or a trail rig or something that straddles the line between both. The FCX platform is 100% where it's at. And then if you want to make it more crawler, you can. If you want to make it more trail rig and scaled out, you can. It's very easy to do those things. But out of the box, compared to every other ready to run out there, I think FMS is killing it right now. I don't think there's anybody that's really doing a better ready to run, especially on the 18 scale. Especially on the 18 scale when it comes to brushed stuff that just does everything really good. There is a amazing brushless build out there, or brushless ready to run. You can definitely check that out. But if you're looking for a brushed, really well-priced rig, these are where it's at, guys. And I'm not just trying to upsell you. I really do love them. I basically bought the first FCX24 before it was even really supposed to be publicly available on Amazon. Some people will remember that. It basically showed up randomly on Amazon, and all the SCX groups were like, what is this? And so I bought one and had it like 2-3 weeks before any of the YouTube reviewers, because they were supposed to be getting theirs sent to them from FMS. And I just snagged mine on Amazon. We got lucky for that very first FCX24 Power Wagon Butcher. And ever since then, I've been in love with it. There's a couple other YouTubers out there that are also just in love with the FCX platform, because it's a fantastic platform. Anyway, guys, let's get going. That would have been bad. That would have been bad. We almost made it. We almost made it. That is a gnarly line, guys. I just want to break the video here. It's hard to see it, but that is actually pretty steep there, guys. It's hard to tell with the video, man, but if you can see it. Oh, here, maybe let me take it off the white here. Maybe? Can you see that better? It's just not conveying. It's steep. Well, alrighty, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that video. This little thing is awesome. I mean, just from the scale details down to the performance and the features of it, the lights. We have a video coming that's going to show you all the awesome features of this guy. We mentioned earlier in the video that you can do actual proportional rear steer. If you get in front axle, throw it on the back. You'll need an extension cable to go on to the ESC. But yeah, from that remote, you can do full four-wheel steering, crab, mirrored, rear steer only, rear steer reverse, front steer only, all from that remote, all proportional, which is freaking sweet. So definitely check out that video. We put a link to it. We'll put a link down in the description below as well, but there should be a link over there somewhere or from earlier. But yeah, definitely check that video out. Definitely pick one of these up if you are at all interested in the body or the platform. Both are awesome, and I can't wait to see future FCX platform-based trucks, whether they're 18s or 24s. If they have all the same features as this guy, FMS is killing it. I mean, 179 is what I think this guy's going for. Bearings, oil-filled aluminum shocks. The electronics in this thing are killer. The separated skid from chassis rails, C-channel chassis rails. The only two complaints, which again, at this price point, I can't complain at all, but the only two things that I would love to see would be metal gears, okay, which we really don't need, but everybody loves metal gears. But I've never stripped gears in the transmission or diff of one of these, but I have seen people with the diffs with monster trucks and whatnot, so at least metal diff gears would be nice. But again, that's going to raise your price. So I think the price is a great balance here. And then the other thing was the body. I wish it was a quick release system on the body. Even if they would have just, actually, you could probably do it yourself. The rear ladder here has a screw that kind of pushes and holds onto the chassis, and it's kind of in the way. We were able to unscrew it without having to unscrew that screw. We were able to get the body off, but some people have said they've had to back this screw out on the ladder to be able to get that screw out. But that little bolt and nut on there actually sits right on top of the chassis where the screw goes, and it holds it. Like, there's no screw in there right now. And you can see the rear is being held on. They could have done something like that where they just have two little pieces that you hold onto the back, slide it on, and then just two screws or two clips in the front to make it much easier. You can just pop it off, and then with no screw in the back, be able to kind of work this rear out. It is much harder to get out than in. Interesting. There we go. Just like so, right? Then just tuck it back up underneath there, and you're attached again, right? Anyway, so a different body system. I know they kind of retrofitted this body from an old one, so I totally get it. But those are my only two things. Everything else is like best in its class, right? Like, they use those terms in one-to-one scale. Best in its class. Period. If you're talking a brushed, ready to run, you cannot beat this thing. It's freaking amazing. Anyway, guys, enough ranting. I appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate the likes, the subscribes, the shares. If anybody's interested in this truck, be sure to share it. Share it in your groups, on your Reddits, anywhere you can that you want to show people how awesome this truck is. And then make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when new videos come up. Another thing, if you want to support the channel, pick up some swag, guys. We have swag down below, all kinds of different shirts. Also, you can become a channel member, and channel members get priority response in comments. The highest tiers, you get stickers sent out every month. You get access to me personally, so if you have any questions, I'll respond, because I do get a lot of questions, and sometimes I can't respond to everybody. But if you're a channel member, you'll definitely get priority there. You also get to see all the videos before they get ads on them, and channel member only videos. So sometimes you'll be scrolling through my video history and you'll see that there's videos that are channel member only. That's for channel members. So definitely check out the different tiers down below. It's super cheap, and it really helps support the channel, helps us get stuff like this, helps us show the upgrades and spend the time that we do putting together these really long form videos, diving really deep, because it takes a lot of work to dive really deep into these. Tons of editing time. For like every minute of video you guys see, it takes at least 4 or 5 minutes of editing. So an hour-long video is 4 or 5 hours of editing, guys. So definitely, I appreciate every channel member. The channel members that we do have, you guys are awesome. And yeah, I hope everybody gets out there and picks one of these up, checks it out. Also, build a car, build a course, build a community. That's what this channel is all about, trying to show new people that they can dive into these things and customize them, cut things, solder things, glue things. Just go into them without being scared that you're going to break them. And building a community. Cars, courses, communities. Those are things I love to build. And yeah, then get out there and smash it, crash it, and bash it, but don't break the expensive parts. Take care, guys.